Hey, look at that. Finally, a rare opportunity to go out there and talk about prospects. This is cool. Today we are revisiting the Toronto Maple Leafs conversation and how they could be linked to the Calgary Flames. The past few videos have gone over guys like Nikita Zadorov. We've talked about guys like Chris Tanev, kind of alluded to that idea of any of the Calgary Flames defensemen that are on the market right now being options for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because all the insiders, all the analysts on TV, they all kind of say the same thing, that, hey, Toronto is interested, that these defensemen could be sent over east because the Calgary Flames don't want to send any of their defensemen to other teams in the Pacific. It's why Vancouver has been debatably ruled out. Whether you like to believe it or not, that's kind of just what we've been hearing from the analysts. And so with this idea in mind, Nikita Zadorov, big dude, 6'6", whatever, big defenseman, Toronto target, we've already seen that. The big question has been, in this situation, what would the Calgary Flames want in return? Now, yesterday, in the video talking about Chris Tanev and Nils Höglander, we had some updates from Rick Dhaliwal on Donnie and Dolly, saying that what the Calgary Flames want in these trades are young prospects that can play in the NHL today. Chris Tanev is not going to get traded for a second or a roster forward that's over the age of 26 and who's making $4.5 million. Chris Tanev will likely be traded for somebody who's less than 24 years old and who could actually make an impact on the Calgary Flames right now. He used the Tyler Toffoli trade as an example as to what kind of picture the Flames would be looking at in regards to this trade return. Hey, Toffoli got traded for Igor Sharangovich, a young guy who can step into the lineup and make an immediate impact. Well, if this pattern, if this desire of what the Calgary Flames want continues into all of their trade conversations with other teams, not just the Vancouver Canucks, then there's reason to believe that there may be some logical explanations as to where the Calgary Flames would be looking at in regards to a Nikita Zadorov trade with Toronto. Now, there are some other conversations to be had about guys like, oh, Zadorov for Klingberg. Yeah, we could do that, right? Like, there are a lot of people tossing out Klingberg's name. There are some other names that have been tossed around there. Oh, Nick Robertson, this is one. Like, it's got to be Nick Robertson and John Klingberg for Nikita Zadorov. Like, there's a lot of people just spitting whatever type of stuff like that. But I wanted to refer to a tweet made by Eric Francis a few days ago that I didn't see up until now. But this got 300,000 views, a bunch of replies, a bunch of retweets, and a bunch of engagement. And I was like, oh, when I read this, I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. This probably is, like, you know, it's not any definite conclusion, but if there was anybody that the Calgary Flames would want the most from the Toronto Maple Leafs in a Nikita Zadorov trade, this makes the most sense in my opinion. So, here's the tweet made by Eric Francis. As the hockey world tries to piece together various pieces that could make a Leafs trade for a Flames defenseman possible, consider the fact that Toronto farmhand Nick Abruzzese was Matt Coronado's setup man at Harvard 2 seasons ago. The Leafs' fourth-rounder was just named the AHL Player of the Week with 2 goals and 5 assists in 3 games played. And this is an idea that I think makes the most sense out of them all. Not John Klingberg, not Nick Robertson. I would go out there and say that Nick Abruzzese of the Toronto Maple Leafs would make the most sense. And if the Flames were interested in this guy, this would be probably the one that I bite on. Nick Abruzzese is 24 years old, 5'11", 183, left-handed left-wing center player who was drafted by the Maple Leafs in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. 4th-round guy, he was an overage pick. Double overager, actually. He was eligible for the 2017 draft because he was born in 1999, but he did not get taken until 2 seasons after. Nick Abruzzese, when he was draft eligible, was playing out of the NAHL as well as the Tier 1 EHL under-18 league in North Jersey. It was not really the most highly scouted league in the world, and understandably, the guy who played only 4 games in the American high school level with the New Jersey Junior Titans had gone undrafted in that draft season. Okay, that's not difficult to see why. The seasons after, though, he did play in the USHL, and it wasn't until 2018-19 where he really broke out with 80 points in 62 games played. I remember looking at a lot of the footage of the Steel this year. They had a really good team, and Nick Abruzzese was at the top of the crop. There were some concerns that people had as to whether or not he had an attitude problem, whatever, but he was going out there scoring a lot of points and doing some really good things. So he ended up getting drafted by Toronto as a result, albeit in a fourth-round role because he was a double overager. Give it the next season, and eventually he is in Harvard with the Crimson over there, and he puts up 44 points in 31 games played in his first NCAA year. Now, he was like 2 years older than everybody else that was a freshman, so yeah, it's kind of misleading when you see the numbers, but he was still an absolute monster with the Crimson in this season. Then you go over into 2021-2022, he got 33 points in 28 games played as the captain of the Crimson, and this is where he ends up meeting and playing with Matthew Coronato, current Flames young guy who made his debut with the team last season, who is really good in the AHL, and who definitely has a long-term future with this team. The next few seasons, Nick Abruzzese plays in Toronto, he plays with the Leafs, he plays with the Marlies. He had 48 points in 69 games played last year, and this season he's at 11 points in 12 games, so just under a point per game, plus the AHL Player of the Week honors, wherein he did get all of these points within the past little while. And him with Coronato together with the Harvard Crimson, that was such a deadly pairing. The playmaking, the offensive awareness, the passing of Abruzzese, not to mention the goal-scoring touch that Matthew Coronato was able to bring. He had 20 goals and 16 assists in 34 games played in that season, Matthew Coronato did. So it's clear to see that the duo ended up working. And so heading into the next few years, this is certainly a pairing that if you wanted to say there was chemistry, there's totally chemistry to be had here. And because Abruzzese is 24 years old and already has NHL experience, you could go out there and very well say, hey, he's probably an NHL guy. It's just tough to break onto the Toronto Maple Leafs because you know how many forward spots they have for young, offensively capable guys. You've got other players that are breaking onto the scene and doing things like Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi. They want that physicality. Even a guy like Nick Robertson has had such a difficult time in Toronto just finding ice time. So what more for Nick Abruzzese, who is like down there in the depth chart, who's just made his way onto the Maple Leafs, signed a pro contract within the past 2 years. There certainly is a bit more to be desired there if you're trying to look from his perspective of development. And if the Calgary Flames are really looking for those guys that can be young and impactful in the NHL right now, this would make the most sense, considering the link, considering the long-term implications of having Coronato and Abruzzese together. I mean, you could debate that this isn't really worth thinking about. You could debate that sometimes the junior or college line mate situation isn't really the most valuable thing in the world. You were seeing in Edmonton, Connor Brown, Connor McDavid. Connor Brown's been very mid this year. In Colorado, Jonathan Drouin, he's also been pretty mid. So maybe it's not really worth it to go out there and explore this idea of acquiring old teammates and trying to ignite the same level of success and prosperity they had in college in the NHL, but I do think it would be worth a shot. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world to go out there and think about what Coronato and Abruzzese could do at the NHL level, especially if you could get this guy, let's say for a player that you're probably going to end up trading anyway in Nikita Zadorov or a Chris Tanev or something. Not to say that Nick Abruzzese is the most valuable piece in the world, but this would be the one that makes sense. So if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you make a trade of Nick Abruzzese and let's say an extra draft pick for a player like Zadorov? You got to free up cap space, so let's just try to do that in some other move. Talk about Klingberg and everything, we'll do that in another video, but if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, what are your thoughts on the idea of trading away Abruzzese? If you're a Calgary Flames fan, what are your thoughts on this being the potential piece that sets this trade idea over the edge and done? Do you like Abruzzese? Do you not? Would you rather get somebody else? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a Calgary Flames fan in that respect. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.